All right, and welcome into the Bobby Carpenter Show. And it is Friday, which means it's a fun Friday. It's a fast Friday. We got a lot of stuff going and a lot of things cooking for you here today, taking you into the weekend. My guy, Anthony Schlegel, you're wondering probably where he's at. What's going on? Well, he's going to join this program at some point in time today. Unsure of when that is going to take place. He yesterday was going to be late. And the reason why was the fact that he said he had to get some appliances. For those who don't know, Schlegel has lived in Jacksonville the last couple of years while he was the head coach or head strength coach for the Jacksonville Jaguars. They were moving back because he loves Ohio so much. And they got a house. They're getting some appliances delivered. Apparently, they were supposed to be delivered yesterday. They gave him a window of 9 to noon. And apparently, they didn't come during that window. So now they're coming today. And he texted me, I don't know, probably about an hour ago. And poof, David Copperfield, no worries, adjust with poise is what he just texts. That's you. Thank you, Pat. Texting, no worries, adjust with poise. Well, the adjustment is done on me because now I've got to carry this thing until he gets here. Who knows when that'll be. But he is moving back, and they've got a house. Doesn't live very far from me. And so we're excited to hopefully be able to put some of these shows together, and we'll do some stuff together more often. He won't be traveling back and forth. His last Jacksonville flight is a one-way, and it's down there, and they're driving their vehicles back. So, and that's going to probably be in about 2 weeks. So until that time, he's still going to be back and forth a little bit, moving around a little bit, but at least he's got his destination, and things are beginning to come into play for him and come into shape and focus, if you will. But a nice show here for you today. And next week, he's going to be on a cruise, with his son and his senior vacation with their family. So he informed me that he's not going to be at any of those shows either. So he's late today, and who knows when he'll be back next week or the week after. So I'll try to put together some good guests. Our usual guys coming through with AJ and Bender, try to get Ward, maybe a Joshua Perry in there. And we'll see if we can get a player, maybe a coach as well. It's tough because they have camp. I was hoping to get Coach Lachlan at some point later, like yesterday or today. Unfortunately, they've been running around coaching all the kids up, chasing all the kids around over there. And so it just hasn't worked out timing-wise from when they were free. So hopefully we'll be able to figure that out and get something going with that. Some news that broke with the scheduling stuff. And they released these schedules way in advance. And, you forget about them. They come out so far with the non-conference in football that when it finally gets there, it seems like it's not even real. And I remember it being in high school when they scheduled the Texas home and home series. And I'm thinking like, okay, maybe I'd committed, probably had, because that's why it was so interesting to me. Maybe when it first came out, I was just really excited. And then they started talking about it more. And I was thinking, man, okay, it's 02, 03, 04, 05. Okay, great. My first year playing Texas at home. Like I wanted to be there and play on the reverse trip as well, and being able to go into Texas just to be able to say you played in like another sweet venue, which would have been awesome. You're thinking like, if you get redshirted, you'll be able to get both of those. That'd be awesome. If not, okay, then you get the one at home at least, which turned out to be an unbelievable game. And now it's the 20th anniversary of that game. And you know what? They're coming back to the shoe, albeit it won't be at night, which everybody is very disappointed about and isn't great, but they're coming back here. And so then also we got the home and home with Texas. I think we have Alabama then the subsequent years, and then 1 year off, and then we've got a home and home with Georgia. But when you schedule these out, you're like trying to figure out, when are you going to play them again? What's this going to look like? How's it going to be? Thanks for tossing that up, Pat, as we've looked through this and talked about it a little bit. Well, in 2029, they just rounded out that schedule, and it looks pretty good because they've got Charlotte on there. They've got Youngstown. You're trying to find like a bigger game of someone in there smushed in between, and it's between Alabama and Georgia. And it's hard to get a one-off, but they were able to do it that year because there's no return trip. But they're going to be playing Navy in 2029. And that was just announced. Now, I love the academies. I think it's awesome. I think our academies they play great football. They're some of the best human beings you will find in this great country exist at those academies. The young men and women that go there are elite human beings. They all, I believe, have to do some sort of sport, whether varsity or club. And so like everybody that goes there, like there's a fitness element involved. And the guy who we're waiting on at some point will be here, hopefully, Mr. Anthony Schlegel. He started his career at Air Force. And so, I mean, he's a man of the highest integrity, although he did get over 200 demerits there. And so I always love like the academies. I love it playing them in theory. Offensively, it doesn't matter. I mean, outside of the fact that you may not get as many possessions in the ball control, but like you're going against a defense where you're going to have better athletes than them, and that's going to feel good. But on the other side of that, the defense is where it's tough because the triple option is a bear. It is an absolute beast to prepare for. And so that 2029 schedule, thankfully, it's Charlotte afterwards and then Youngstown, because I hearken back to a time that seems like yesterday, but it was actually long ago. And ironically, it was 11 years ago that actually transpired when Ohio State opened with Navy in Baltimore. And I think that was at the Ravens field. I want to say, I believe that they played in the Ravens field, if I'm not mistaken. So there's obviously that they played there. But after that game, they win. And Darren Lee had a great play, I think a scoop and score. And it was close for a while because Navy was good. I mean, heck, Navy won, I think, 9 games last year. They were Commander-in-Chief trophy, like beat Army at the end of the season. Blake Horvath, their quarterbacks from Hilliard, he's a heck of a player. But Navy's good. They're good generally year in and year out. And so that year, they played Virginia Tech next. And we all remember what happened, that Virginia Tech game. And then you ultimately see Navy. And while Navy win or lose their games, the teams that would play them the next week, I mean, it was some crazy streak where I think they were 0-7, 0-6 in their following game. Because what does that do to you playing that game? Well, you want to open the season with them or play them off of a bye or play them regularly, because preparing for the option is really tough. Most guys don't know how to do it. AJ and I used to joke with it because, my dad in Lancaster, they ran the wing tee, which, some wing tee runs, but they also ran the veer and ran the midline option and things like that. And so that's all the stuff that Navy does. AJ came from Centerville where they ran the triple. And so you had that melted in there as well. So we always knew it. You know how to play against it because you played against it in practice and you played in it. And so Notre Dame plays Navy every year. So they're pretty good at defending it. And my brother G8 up there. And I remember him talking when he came down here and we were playing Navy and he was on that 2014 staff. He's like, this is how you have to defend it, because we defend it every year. So our coaches know how to prepare for it. It's not like we're trying to build a scheme. And that's really tough to do if you only have a week to be able to do it, because what you're building in that, there's no carryover. It's like, hey, we ran this against this team and we ran this against this team, and team X and team Y, they do some similar things. So let's keep this blitz in, or let's keep this defensive front or this coverage. No, all that stuff is out the window, and you have to be disciplined. You have to be rules, all the stuff that you work on all the rest of the time, that's in the cupboard. You're running like 6 or 7 defenses, and you're trying to run them as well as you can. And you have better athletes. You just have to be able to out execute, which is really tough because the guys at the academy, they major in execution. They do a heck of a job at it, and they beat you up physically. They cut block, and you can't cut quite the same way you used to be able to 10 years ago. They changed some of the rules on that. But Urban Meyer famously said, Joey Bosa didn't come to Ohio State to play the veer option. He came here to sack the quarterback or to take on, pullers and cut blocks and all that stuff. And so that's what you have to deal with as a defensive lineman. That's what you have to deal with as a linebacker. And on the edge, corners and safeties, you're involved in the run game every play. This isn't, hey, I'm going to go lock up J.J. Smith. I'm going to go take out their best receiver. We're going to roll coverage. No, you're getting off cut blocks out there, which I don't think they can cut a receiver anymore. But you have to be a vital part of the run game. Whenever you see those big runs, you've got to be part of stopping it. And your eye control is critical because they run, pass. Oh, all of a sudden, over your head for a touchdown. That's what Navy did really well with Blake Horvath last year. And so that's the mentality. Everything else you've done is it's over. It's like literally imagine going to like a steak restaurant, and then they have like one little guy over on the side who does sushi rolls. Like the rest of the restaurant, none of that matters. This dude's over here cutting up little pieces of tuna, rolling the sticky rice rolls. He's got, his shrimp, his wasabi, the cucumbers, all of those little things that are in there. He's got on this side, and everybody else is over there pushing mashed potatoes, asparagus, steak, doing all those things. Maybe some big lobsters. That might be the only overlay with all that. So that's what you're basically dealing with. It's two completely separate things. And so that's why those teams struggle so much. Navy threw the ball 4 times for 20 yards when they played Ohio State. They ran it 63 times for 370 yards against Ohio State. Like, man, that's a lot of rushing yards. Well, that's what they do. That's what they do. And they pop some on Ohio State. And because guys get cut, they get down, all of a sudden there's a seam, and boom, Navy's got some guys that can go. They may not be the biggest guys, but they got dudes that can run, and they're tough as hell. And so that's what they ultimately had to deal with. And so then you go from that, when you're preparing all offseason, we're saying, hey, we're putting in this stuff, we're putting in this, by the way, let's do some Navy prep now. And then you get into camp, it's like, okay, we're working on A, B, and C, but now it's Navy. Now it's Navy. And all the other stuff you work at, like, you don't even remember as a player because it happened so long ago, because you're constantly having to be locked in on Navy because of what they do and how they play. So it's really stinking difficult to be able to deal with all this stuff. And it's hard. And so that's why that next week you're coming off of it. Your guys haven't played like real style football on defense, which is what everyone else does. They've been taking on cut blocks, playing the run, the corners, your eye control. Like, you have to look at this, you're looking at that. You're so involved with the run game. And so it's really hard to then on the other side of that be really good that following week, because your guys are beat up. And like the challenge offensively then as well is, when you look at it, you're not going to get as many possessions. The other team's going to be running the football a lot, and so they're going to limit your possessions. So you can't get impatient. You can't you can't get impatient. You can't try to push the ball. And when you have it, you've got to make sure that you possess it. Like, you can't be giving the ball away to the opposition, because you're going to put your defense back out there, and you might not know when you get it back. And so you have to play a little bit different of a game style as well. And so that stuff's hard. A lot of things roll into it, and it's not easy to defend. And so that next week, when you deal with that, then you've got to ultimately dive back into everything else. And it's an adjustment. Like, it's a challenge. Like, it is. And so that's why that Virginia Tech game happened the way that it did. Now, I think there was things they could have done to fix it. But when I saw this, I'm like, they're getting Navy on the schedule. It's like, oh, Lord, please help me. Like, this team in 2020, I have no idea what they might be. I'm trying to think. Like, I don't even know. The quarterback for that team probably isn't even on the roster. I don't even know if, was it 5, 6, 7, 8? Like, Tavian St. Clair would be gone by then unless he redshirts. Like, probably one of these guys that are coming through camp, or one of the other guys that's committing, would be taking that on. And so it's so far in the distant future. The guys that are committing are looking at that. But you have no idea what type of team you have, but you have a national championship caliber team that ultimately could be getting derailed by a Navy team. And maybe it's not because it was the direct blow by Navy, but what they do is, it's like they dice you up, and then you walk into the next fight and you're bleeding. And while you could have probably won the fight, you've lost so much blood that you ultimately bleed out and you pass out. And so, like, that's what Navy will do to you. So I saw that in 2029. I thought, oh no, this is going to be bumpy. But then I saw, okay, you've got Charlotte coming up after it, and I forget who the other non-conference game was. It wasn't nearly a big slate. Navy is kind of that big game. And like I said, I love the service academies. I love the ROTC. I love everything that they provide. And they've got Youngstown State in there. So it's not going to be murderer's row before you get in, which it'll be also interesting to see. And we'll get into this into the next topic or next segment, talking about the scheduling and how that could potentially change and what that could potentially look like moving forward. Because some of this might shift. Now, Ohio State has got they've got their schedule locked in, but there are buyouts and there's things, a way to get out of the deals. And if there's enough money involved, hey, anybody will shift anything and move stuff around. So I love it. We got some stuff, Mike, in the chat too, before we get going. Schlegel is a big day, Bed Bath & Beyond, maybe Home Depot. I don't know if I have time, and he adjusts with poise. That's what Pat's throwing at me. And then Mike also, I imagine Schlegel living in your hood, his head is like Cousin Eddie meets Duck Dynasty. Yeah, that is true. Like, it's funny. Schlegel can class it up when he needs to, Mike. And he can bring his A game, but yeah. And listen, I'm going to be full honest with you. Like, and we talk about some of the stuff. I mean, I've had my Jeep pulled into my backyard, ripping out bushes with the winch on the front, not the wench, as Schlegel likes to say, which is someone you don't want to be. A winch is a tool that you would need and you would love. And so I do hillbilly things. I cut down my own tree branches and do all that stuff. I'm the only dude on my street that's got a chainsaw, and then I also have a pole saw on top of it with the connections and all the stuff. But I trim my own bushes and do all that stuff. So I've got it there. I've got about 2 yards of mulch still sitting in my front yard that I'm waiting for my daughter to finish up and get on there. So like we do our own things. And so I'll enlist Schleg's hillbilly rear end to come help me, Mike. And so I appreciate those thoughts and everything going on. But yeah, jump in the chat. Any of your questions, all your stuff, your commentary will get answered. And we'll talk about this because the scheduling moving forward might change anyway. But I think that Navy game is going to be locked in there as well moving forward. Before we get out of here, I know we won't have Schlegel to give you the sign language and the birds and whatever he does. But I want to tell parents, athletes, protect what matters most with Export mouth guards. Trusted by professional athletes, designed by NHL team dentists. Export mouth guards are scientifically tested to help absorb those high-impact hits, protecting both your teeth and your brain. Export mouth guards feature 3 layers of advanced protection, including a patented use of carbon fiber, custom fit to your own unique smile. They 3D print that bad boy in there for you, which means more protection, better performance, max comfort, clear communication, so you can focus on your game, not on your gear. Do not take chances with your safety. Visit exportguards.com/Bobby today and save 15% on your order. Export, protect what matters most. More of the Bobby Carpenter Show coming up next.
Creative, experience, results. That's what drives growth. That's what builds brands. That's Lake Spur Marketing, a full-service agency built on trust, strategy, and performance, not fluff. From bold strategies to flawless execution, every campaign is rooted in smart planning and driven by clear goals. We don't chase clicks. We build partnerships. We show up, dig in, and deliver every single time. Lake Spur Marketing. The proof is in our partners.
All right. So there's some stuff going on here. Some Michigan scandal things. We've got some off-season stuff. Full disclosure, I got to go to Ohio State after this show. So we went a little earlier today. Got to do I had to help do the business stuff, recruiting with that one. Hey, I teach at the business school. You got a guy who wants to be a business major, Poof David Copperfield. Let me tell you about what the business school here is, what it has to offer. And then always, if you want to ask me other questions, go right ahead. I went to school here twice. I played here. I'm over here a lot. I get to know a lot of the players. And I go, I'm not paid by the university football department. I'm paid outside of that by athletics, or not by athletics, by the business school. So I'll be completely honest with you. So I love the coaches. I love Ryan. I love the people that we have in here. And it's like, man, everything, I owe everything here. I met my wife here. A lot of my jobs and opportunities all derived from being a Buckeye. So, and a lot of my best friends, all because I was a Buckeye. So it's been really good with that. But I want to talk a little bit. We've talked about some of this scheduling deal moving forward and what it's going to ultimately look like with college football. The Big Ten currently is playing 9 games in their conference schedule. The SEC is only playing 8. And so that's one of the big rubs. And the SEC is like, well, if we do that, you're giving half the conference another loss because it's a zero-sum situation. There's got to be a winner and there's got to be a loser. That's why that matters. So their argument is, hey, if we do that, well, where's the concessions going to be? And that's where this automatic qualifier of the 4 and 4 for the Big Ten and SEC come into play. Because half our conference is going to have another loss. I'm like, well, yeah, but most of those other losses are coming on the bottom half. You're not getting all 16 teams in, just like the Big Ten isn't getting all 18 teams in. Your top teams will be fine. And maybe some of the top teams may absorb one other loss. And so instead of being 10-2, they're 9-3. But here's what I'm telling you. Bama at 9-3, South Carolina at 9-3, Ole Miss at 9-3. That would have got in a 16-team playoff. That wouldn't have changed. They would have been the ones that were up next. I think Illinois would have been maybe right there too, right on the fringe of that. So that would have been taken care of. But what they've also talked about this, which is what gets me really excited, is basically the equivalent of the Big Ten ACC Challenge in basketball, the Big Ten SEC Challenge in football, where the start of the season, and I hope they don't put all the games on the same weekend, but if they can figure this out and they go to the 9th game, which for the SEC, which ESPN's gonna have to pony up more money, which they said they would, because would you rather watch, Alabama play the Citadel, or would you rather watch them play, I don't know, A&M? Sounds like a much better game. Just like, would you rather watch Ohio State play, Grambling, or would you rather watch them play USC or even UCLA, or heck, even, Purdue? Now, some of the teams at the bottom, maybe not as much, but you want to see those top tier big time games. And so that's what's great. But with that, the SEC wants their assurances. So A, they're going to get more money. B, they want to make sure they're going to be getting enough teams in. But then with that, and it sounds like it's going to happen. I was doing Sirius XM 84, the college sports radio. And there's some people in the SEC that I was talking to that cover them. And they think that this is moving in that direction, that it's most likely going to happen. And I'm like, that's awesome, because then you're going to get those games. Now, here's the thing for Ohio State. They got Texas the next 2 years. They got Bama after that, space year 29, and then they got Georgia. So I don't know how they would probably all likely break those contracts and like no harm, no foul, because we're going to be getting other big games anyway. Or maybe they keep those in. What they've talked about is trying to do a system, and everyone's like, hey, can they get 1-1, 2-2, 3-3? Like, but it's all based on projections or the finish of the previous year, which you finish the previous year. Obviously, the team that maybe won it the previous year isn't going to win it again. But you always have to think that there's probably going to be an opportunity there where you'll be pretty close. Like Ohio State's probably going to be generally at the top. Georgia, probably generally at the top. You would like to think USC gets there, and Penn State's always there. And you've got your Alabamas and, whether it's Tennessee or Florida, whoever, LSU, and some of those teams are always going to be hovering around the top. But I would love to see that challenge. But what they want is they want more money. Number one, from ESPN, check. I think ESPN's going to take care of that for them. Big Ten, you got to go to that 9th game, which is where the money will be coming from. And then both schools, they've got to figure this out between Fox and ESPN, because the home sites are going to get the school, or get the home sites are going to host the game. So that's the network it's going to be on. And so there will be some scheduling logistics with this, of trying to figure out how they divvy up that inventory. And I said, you know what, do them all away one year and all home one year, and then Big Ten and or Fox and ESPN just split it. So that way it'll handle the travel stuff, and the travel will be a little bit easier, because they book these things so far out to make sure that everybody can plan and figure that stuff. And then for the rest of their scheduling, you can book it. So, hey, the years that we're away, we always have we have our home games to make sure we're allotted, or however that's going to work. If you go to 9, I guess you would have to split and go half and half, because then it'd be 4 and 5 and 5 and 4 for home games and away games. And that would work really well, so that everybody can get the right number of dollars. So they have a lot of logistics to work out, but that would be a huge package, and everybody would pay more for that, because now you're getting like premium caliber games. And I, for one, would love to see that in college football. And Ohio State schedules tough games. They schedule tough non-conference opponents. Now, this last year they didn't, but that was because Washington, or maybe Grambling this year is because Washington dropped out. But they've had stuff where they had to make changes, teams pull out, and the conference realignment changed a lot. And so I've given teams a lot of grace the last handful of years with their schedules, because of how dramatically the conferences have shifted. But it's could be a lot of fun. And hopefully they'll be able in the future. And like I said, I don't know when this would happen. And so as we were talking about the Navy game earlier being in 2029, and them having Charlotte and Youngstown State in there, if they put this into play, I don't think it's going to be for 10 years down the road. I don't think you can institute it in 2, but maybe you could, or 3 years. Maybe by 29, you could get this 3 or 4 years out. And so maybe you're slotting some of these games knowing like, hey, there's going to be some buyouts. We're going to have to cancel some of this stuff, but it'll be more than offset by the big dollars coming in by the television networks, by some of these games. Like I said, Ohio State's been carrying the water. And so they got to drive the decisions on this with the Big Ten, of how we're going to operate, what we're going to do, how it's going to look. Because if you expect Ohio State to play Bama and Georgia and Texas, LSU, all the big teams every year, And for that matter, Penn State's going to be involved in it. Michigan, hopefully USC at some point gets their act together. And you start looking at, these big games. That's where the dollars are at. That's what people are paying for. I mean, as much as you want to see Northwestern and Vanderbilt play, I mean, I don't think that that's going to draw the eyes of many around the country. And so it's those big games. So that's where the dollar value is going to be derived from. So Ohio State and Ross Bjork has done a really good job at this. And I know the chagrin of some people of what's happening, but with the stadium, but of taking a lead role with Tony Petitti in these negotiations, because that Ohio State's the one that's carrying everything. They're carrying the water, and so they should be the one that gets to make the decision with how it all operates. So it's a big deal. I'm excited for it. Hopefully they get that done with the SEC and we can start work in 9 games, and then we can start working on this. And I don't know what that's going to make the 16 team look, but it's one, big package that they're trying to all work together, because the parts all fall in off one another. And so like working on these things in isolation are tough. It's easier if you can kind of, hey, let's take this, take that. Then we have a package we can present of a 9th game SEC. Here's what the rules and requirements are for the college football playoff, and there's stipulations around that. By the way, we're going to do the Big Ten SEC Challenge. This is what it's all going to be. And then, hey, broadcast partners, let's try to figure out how this is going to look and make sure. But they're working on this all in conjunction, because you can't, like, the SEC is not going to go to 9 games unless someone makes them. ESPN's got to pay them. And then when you do that, okay, then we can get the conference challenge moving. And then that's going to all obviously be part and parcel with this big playoff expansion and how that's going to look. And so that's why it's got to all work together. I've been told by a little birdie that Schlegel is in the air. We got a bird in the air. He's en route back to where he needs to go, I think over to the Armory to do the show. So he should be joining us soon. And for those of you just joining us, he had an appliance delivery that was supposed to happen yesterday from 9 to noon. That was the window. Well, you know what had happened? At 11:15 today. So I don't know if Schlegel can't read a calendar or they're just that late. But I want to tell you about our friends over at Backer, a new Buckeye apparel company. Phenomenal. BCKR.com. Premium jackets and hats. And, it's getting a little warm. Probably don't need the jackets. Great Father's Day gifts coming up. They're the nice elite style gear, the hunting, the fishing, the skiing, the stuff that's high quality. It's got all the features that you're looking for and everything that you want with it. It's got a premium price, but you go to Backer, BCKR.com, and you buy it from the site, direct to you shipping, promo code all caps Bobby at checkout for free expedited shipping. And a portion of the proceeds is going to go back to Ohio State student athletes. So helping raise and drive the NIL fund and doing some of that. And so when you're supporting them, you're getting great gear, but you're also supporting the student athletes at Ohio State. That's Backer, BCKR.com. More of the Bobby Carpenter Show. And maybe, just maybe, we get an Anthony Schlegel sighting next.
Creative, experience, results. That's what drives growth. That's what builds brands. That's Lake Spur Marketing, a full-service agency built on trust, strategy, and performance, not fluff. From bold strategies to flawless execution, every campaign is rooted in smart planning and driven by clear goals. We don't chase clicks. We build partnerships. We show up, dig in, and deliver every single time. Lake Spur Marketing. The proof is in our partners.
All right, welcome back into the Bobby Carpenter Show. At some point, Schlegel will be joining us. I don't know. You guys, if you just keep yelling with everything. And one of the other things that's coming up, the NCAA, with Michigan, I know that's going to be coming down the pipe here soon. And so we'll see what those sanctions ultimately look like. I know a lot of people are clamoring for a bunch of things to happen, and we'll ultimately see kind of what goes on. And listen, I love the support that we've had. Thank you so much for all the likes, subscribes, comments. Just keep it all firing, and we appreciate it. But I know everybody's hoping for them to hammer Michigan. I'm curious to see what a hammer ultimately looks like if they do. Do you punish like vacating wins? And so Michigan is the winningest team in college football. Vacating wins would eliminate some of that. It would be a blemish on Jim Harbaugh's record, and those would be gone. But like, you can't erase those things from memory. So you've got that. That's one of the options. They've talked about scholarship reductions in the past. Like, I don't know if scholarship reductions do the same thing as they used to do. I mean, now you could just say roster limits. Like, you can't have more than however many players. Or you can limit their NIL dispersal. Say, hey, we're going to fine you $10 million, and that's coming out of your NIL revenue share. So you won't have that to be able to dedicate to players, which would dramatically impact your ability to recruit moving forward. So those are some of the things like you could do as well. And people always hated this, and I did too. The postseason ban. We start looking at the ban like, well, if you can't play in the college football playoff, like, what kids are going to go there? And who's going to stay on your roster? Because before, if you left, you just have to sit out. And then they changed it, I think, where you can leave if something happened like this and you didn't. Well, now, I mean, guys will just, no, they'll be out of there. I mean, they'll be out of there quicker than anything. So that would really hamstring their program. And so I think some combination of a handful of those things, like, I don't know if you're going to get the vacation of many of the wins. I know you're not going to get it for the national title. Like, that's going to be there and that's going to stand. And they won that. But as far as fines, as far as penalties, the postseason would be probably the most punitive thing that you could do. And I'm curious to see if they go there with it. But you have to look at this as well. Like, this isn't some, the tattoos and stuff for changing gear. This isn't, a recruiting call outside of this window. Or heck, this isn't even paying a guy to come to your school, because you know what? That's legal now. And this was dealt with an integrity of the game, cheating to win football games, and like cheating to gain the schematic advantage. Not because most of the cheating that's always done is done to get player advantage. How do I get players to school here? How do I keep players here? How do we get them some money or something like that? Well, that's all legal now. And so really, like, the only way to cheat significantly is through in-game cheating and trying to find a way to procure information from another team illegally, or you're doing something that, wasn't allowed to do. I joke, Mike Ferguson, part of the punishment should be that they have to publicly release the manifesto, which would be entertaining. To read Connor Stalions' manifesto, which ironically too, at Joe Burrow's golf outing, I got a pair of the Meta glasses that he had on. Maybe I'll grab them here during the break and talk a little bit about it. And Schlegel, I guess, is here. I'd like to see what he's doing, if he's in the car or where he's at or what's going on.
I'm right here.
There he is. All right. Yeah. How was Bed Bath & Beyond? That's what everybody wants to know.
Yeah, exactly. It was not Bed Bath & Beyond. It was delivery, of which only I can get it into the house because there's nobody there. So it's all
good. What do you mean?
Though.
Why can't you just give the keys to somebody else?
They don't have them. I'm flying out. Who's going to go do it? I don't know anybody over there. All my people here are working their face off. So I just had to be there, get the delivery, and here we go. And we're talking about Connor Stalions. Obviously, I know what's going on. We're talking about cheating. We're talking about pregame. The biggest thing will be, and I agree with you, we should release everything. We all, inquiring minds, want to know what actually transpired. How deep down the rabbit hole did we go? We saw the documentary of him talking about it that kind of shaded him in kind of this savant positive light, that he was just going above and beyond. It's funny, I actually talked to a coach the other day where, you want to live right on that edge to where they have to make a rule about you. Part of that could have been, we could have said, the Oregon game and 12-man, and that's within the rules. And now they've changed that rule, or recruiting, talking to people in other areas. I don't know, maybe it's the WhatsApp, but let's hear all of the things that they went into, especially being on the sideline. You can't deny that he was on the sideline scouting out Michigan State for Central Michigan. That 100% is not permissible. They all knew what was going on. Even if you're the head football coach, you're like, hey, where is Connor Stalions? I don't know. He's over at Central Michigan. So you have to have those things. But anyways, what else did you guys talk about, Bob? I want to know.
Well, I was going to try to find those glasses, and I don't know where they're at. They're probably in one of my trucks. So I told Kellen to go out there and look for them. Yeah, we talked about that. Ohio State's playing Navy to start the 2029 season, which I was
I saw that.
Yeah, I'm glad you saw it. We talked about it. And you know what? Let's take a quick break right here. We're going to come back with our headlines. And I want you to give a little bit of breakdown because you were part of that team that played Navy. You played in a triple option system with Air Force. So you played against it every day at practice. And the rest of the schedule isn't as bad. Like they don't play Virginia Tech the next week or they don't play Bama next week. They play Charlotte. So you should be better. But what that's like, we'll get you coming up next with our headlines.
Creative, experience, results. That's what drives growth. That's what builds brands. That's Lake Spur Marketing, a full-service agency built on trust, strategy, and performance, not fluff. From bold strategies to flawless execution, every campaign is rooted in smart planning and driven by clear goals. We don't chase clicks. We build partnerships. We show up, dig in, and deliver every single time. Lake Spur Marketing. The proof is in our partners.
All right, welcome back to the Bobby Carpenter Show. And now we got our headlines brought to you by our friends over at Lake Spur Marketing. Lake Spur Marketing is a full-service ad agency built on trust, strategy, and performance. Lake Spur, their team shields you from the crap you don't want to deal with, the cold calls, the noise. They let you do what you do best, which is run your business. That's what you want to do anyway. They're experienced over 100 years in the biz, which is tremendous. They eliminate waste. They deliver on time and on budget. They don't chase the clicks. They build those partnerships that we're talking about. Lake Spur Marketing, the proof is in the partners. Man, I don't know where my meta glasses are, and I'm very disappointed in that now.
Mike Ferguson said I had 50 gallons of creatine being delivered. You know what, Mike? That'd be amazing. I'm just in there like Tony Montana, just creatine all over my face.
Snorting
lightweight, baby. Well, I mean, it's probably the fastest way into the system.
Well, that you told me, or rectally, either way, suppository. Do you have creatine suppositories that you can give folks?
I don't know. I was going to say something, but I forgot. It was like, I don't know, like, what is it? Don't surprise me with a good time, or don't challenge me with a good time.
Don't scare me. Don't scare me with a good time.
Yeah, don't scare me with a good time.
Don't tempt me.
Yeah, exactly. Something like that. Bubba Luna like, no, Mike, stop it. Stop it.
Gosh, yeah, there's a lot of good stuff in there that they're firing at your slugs.
Yeah,
that's so great. Mike must have smuggled drugs before. He seems to have all the tricks of the trade. Slugs, tell us about preparing for Navy and what that's like.
Oh my gosh, dude, so awesome. I mean, I went to the Air Force Academy and we got to see that. Oh, surprisingly enough, side nugget, 2-0 in the Commanders in Chief Trophy. This guy. So I mean, add that to the repertoire of gold pants. And I mean that we took that very, very seriously. But it's just different, right? There's the fullback, there's the quarterback, there's the option. You have to be very disciplined with your eye control and just make sure that the guys up front do their job. Because when they do pass, it's all coming off of the run, and it's just the wing, and they're going to do motion, they'll motion over. And once that guy gets past midline, like you can boss over and you can read and react. But the defense goes more to a 50 look, Bob.
Yep.
Where you have a nose and it's like, but it's the end. It's responsibility football. It's like, who is responsible for who? Do your job. It's not about how many tackles you're going to make in this game. It's just about literally doing your job. And that's it. It's not that difficult.
Like,
they run it at a high level.
What if I think the quarterback's going to keep it, and then can I just go run to him?
Well, there's a lot of times where I've seen people do that. Oh, he's going to keep it the entire time. And there's tendencies to that. Who's the pitch man? Like that the real problem is when you get the pitch man biting down on the quarterback and now he loses leverage. And because you're going to man up on the corners because you want more hats in the box. So they're playing man. You might have a single high safety. You might not. You might want it for the run. You're like, those guys got it. And most of the time they do. But it's that outside guy. If you give up the edge on an option team, they can hurt you. Because, and again, I say that because you should stop all of the stuff in the middle. That's the fullback and that's the quarterback.
But what does that do with your preparation then for everything else the rest of the year?
And Bob, the hardest thing about that game is that it's the first game. So now, what I don't like about that, it's kind of, all right, in camp, guys, you're going over kind of the first 2 games within practices. You're going to see different things, how the defense works, what are they doing, what is this team doing? They're just polar opposite. Now, again, who's the second game they play after them? Is it Charlotte?
Yes.
Okay, so it's like, all right, we good. Okay, so it's going to be preparation heavily focused on them. Now, offensively, doesn't matter. They're running what they run. Defensively, it's during camp. We're also going to be working on things that we're no longer going to be truly doing throughout the remainder of the season. It's why I like the option, especially in programs that are developmental. When you think, and I say developmental, they need to have a competitive advantage in some capacity. That's what the academies do. But there's other universities that can easily run the option and do it at a high level. If you think about, I've always said this, if you think about all the high school teams and athletes that play quarterback that aren't necessarily a passer, but they're just really good athletes, and they run the option, where are they going to go? They're going to go to a service academy. Where else could they go? You could potentially be that one university at a public school that runs that in a conference, and you're that, and then it's like, man, I hate playing those.
Well, Georgia Tech did it pretty well, and they also had Calvin Johnson and Demarius Thomas.
They're at home.
Well, because the math changes. If you have a great wide receiver, then you can't just man them up. Then you have to keep the safety over there, and now you've got them outnumbered all the time. Yep. And so when you have 2 first-round, 1 Hall of Famer, 1 borderline Hall of Fame wide receiver out there, that changes the math on defense because it makes it a lot tougher. All right, that's it for our headlines. We got our Tailgate Talk brought to you by our friends at Real Truck. We answer your questions heading into this weekend coming up next. All right, now we get our Tailgate Talk brought to you by our friends at Real Truck. We answer your questions. Schlegs, one of the questions came in. I'll reach out to him, and I don't even care. It said, can we get Antonio Brown on the show, Schlegs? Would break records. Your weird line of questioning, I think, would go surprisingly well with Antonio Brown. Thank you to Mike Ferguson for asking us that, because it's we could ask him about a lot of things, and we could have his cracker of the week, maybe on a Friday, replace Dude of the Week with Cracker of the Week.
Yeah, no doubt. And and this is where the ones
him in the middle box, Schlegs, like a nice reverse Oreo. He would probably love that.
That would be amazing. Eiffel Tower. I would say this: Antonio Brown would be fantastic. I would love to get him. I would love to have the combo before the convo to get him rolling and just like, hey man, what rabbit hole you been going down right now? Just like, I just want to know. Like, yeah, I mean, again, he's a Hall of Fame caliber wide receiver, but like, what angles are you chasing right now at this time of your life? Like, what are we digging into? What conspiracy theories are you talking about? Like, what's going down? What's your take on college football? Like right now, if you're the Commissioner Brown, what are you doing? Blow it up. Like, I think it would be amazing.
That's what Quantatran Burke's saying. Antonio Brown and Anthony Schlegel most definitely have CTE, which I think that's probably confirmed.
It's not confirmed. I did a lot of neck, Bob. I did a lot of neck.
Yeah, it's
Took
true.
a lot of creatine. Thick cylinders, big traps.
Steely Matt saying, I'd like to have Carlos Lock. I'm working. They had camp this week, and so I thought I was going to be able to get him before they headed out there, and then they had stuff going on, and we had to go a little earlier. So it's just the schedule's tough for those guys. If I can stack him for 15 minutes, it's a function, or 20. They usually say, like, hey, we're good. Oh, by the way, that's meeting in 5. And like, what does that mean? Like meeting in 5 minutes. It's like, hey, we're hanging out. Hey, I'll be good at noon. Oh, it's 11:50. Hey guys, we're going to meet in 5 minutes. What for? Why? Why was this not scheduled? So that's
you were on it yesterday, Bob. Like Tosh called me up rando. And honestly, this is a great story. So Tosh Lupoy, he's the defensive coordinator at Oregon. He calls me up now, and Bob and I are talking. I'm loading Ohio State mats from French Fieldhouse or wherever it was that I've had. I've literally had these things for well over a decade. And I had 3 of them. Bob wanted them. I brought them all the way back up from Jacksonville in a pod. Bob, here you go. We're loading it. Tosh calls me. I'm thinking to myself, man, should I answer this call? Like, we're right in the middle of a convo. I was like, just give me a second. I call it. He's like, you felt my energy through the phone and therefore had to pick it up. I'm like, you know what? I did. I felt your juice, and that's the way he is, a very intense dude. And we were just talking shop and shooting the breeze. But those guys, he's like, hey, Schlegel, listen, awesome. Great chat. Talk soon. 5, I got to go. Meeting just popped up.
Meeting.
He's
5
out.
minutes. 5-minute meeting. Let's go. All right. That's the end of Tailgate Talk. We got our dudes of the week coming up next. All right, Schlegs. Go quick. Dude of the week.
Quick. Throw it up there, right there. Dude of the week, Cole Fisher, all-time lax goal scorer in the state of Ohio. I've known Cole since he was 6 years old. Great family, great young man. Good for him. That's a lot, man. A lot of goals there for the Worthington Wolves in Kilbourne. Bob, you.
Good for him. And my mom's birthday was on June 5th. That was yesterday. Ironically, her birthday is the day before D-Day, Schlegs, which, listen, thank you to all those folks out there. If any of them there's a handful still alive who that's like the all-time, that's like real life kickoff coverage, Schlegs. D-Day, real life kickoff coverage, running on then taking the beach. And then my brother was born on December 6th. And so the day before Pearl Harbor. So always have those locked in. But my mom's birthday was there, Susie. A big happy birthday to Susie. Gosh, my parents look so young there. That was from my signing day.
Oh, look at that.
Oh, yeah. Talking about that. My dad is, ironically, Schlegs, he's probably about as old as I am now in that picture. That was 2002. He was born in 55. That's when he was a little older. That's when my family. Oh, that was when we got honored as Family of the Year.
I was there. I remember that.
Yeah,
that was awesome.
You were there for that. But my mom had a birthday, so big happy birthday to Suze, who's still coaching down at the View swim team, which she's been doing that for like 50 years. And the good news is, Schlegs, people go, when's she going to retire? I go, I'll tell you at the funeral. So my mom, she'll coach till she dies. I love it. The party will be the wake. That's it we have. I got to go run. Schlegs got to host a recruit. Buckeyes, we'll see you on Monday.